I suppose I want to start by taking us back in time to before SEO, before Facebook, before cold calling and telephones, before even the written word. If you were in digital PR or telecom sales and you wanted someone to know about what you did, word of mouth was the only thing that you had in terms of marketing. It's the oldest form of marketing. For most businesses, it's still the most successful form of marketing. And it speaks to I think it speaks to the cultural truths that we all know, which is that relationships are still key in everything that we do. In these days of AI and the rising kind of tech influence, I'm seeing more and more that there is this return to values and human relationships, and that the advancements on the other side should be there to support the relationship side rather than replace it. And that bears itself out in some pretty chunky stats as well. 84% of B2B decision makers say it starts with a referral. Once that business comes in, typically they spend more. And this doesn't take into account as well that a lead that comes into you via an introduction is way more likely to make introductions to other people as well. So they become a referrer in their own right. And here's the biggie, right? Companies that had these formalized programs are 86% more growth. And that formalized referral program is one that gives some people the ick. It's not about necessarily giving people Amazon vouchers and commercial benefits, but we will come on to those. At its core, it's about people with similar values, similar end goals for their clients, passing introductions to each other, and that's been going on since time. And yeah, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I think there's a shift on that too. It's not just what you know, it's who you know, and it's who knows you. So same survey though said that only 30% of companies surveyed had a formalized referral program. Aaron, you partnerships is a key part of your business, isn't it? So I'm already aware of that. Mike, 36 years doing what you do. Presumably I'm going to presume, which is always a dangerous thing to assume, that you've had kind of referral partners along the way.
Yeah, we call them introducers, or we used to. Yeah. But we've formalised it on our website now. We've got a referral program, which gives a very nice financial incentive. And ironically, it's been rather successful, because we've got one particular customer who's referred us to a number of people, and that's grown our base exponentially. But as I think I said at the beginning, I'm getting a bit long in the tooth for all this stuff now. But it's very difficult for us to find good quality salespeople. So we're reaching out to people we know from a referral perspective to see if we can generate some opportunities that way. And if that continues, then that could be good for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's an interesting thing that I'm gonna touch on in just a second. What you said about introducer there. So just for purposes of a little bit of clarity, hi Suzanne. My definitions, these aren't dictionary definitions, but they're as good as any. When I talk about referrals, I talk about them coming from anyone and everyone, right? So it's your clients, it's your customers, it's your wider network, it's your prospects, which is great. But the quantity and the quality can vary. There's things that you can do to improve that, and I help teams with that. But it isn't always as scalable. There's always an element of uncertainty around it. Whereas partnerships are those ones where they're dealing ideal leads on a consistent basis. And ideal, I think, can either mean, often I speak with people, they're looking to get larger leads, or they're looking to maybe move more purpose driven, and partnerships can be a great way of steering your ship in a more specific direction. The thing around that I think sits somewhere in between these two is introducers. And it's a really interesting one, that you might find these people who will refer you on a consistent basis, but they don't want to feel they're part of a partner program. They don't want to. People don't necessarily want to join referral programs or partner programs, particularly individuals. But what they will be more than happy to do is make introductions. And what you want to be careful of is not pushing someone down a route that they don't want to be in. You can still do all the good things that we'll speak about over the next kind of half hour, but not necessarily label it as those. So you still have the disciplines and the processes internally to treat these people like a partner. But there's really a judgment around, do these people want to be seen as they're within some kind of formal relationship, or actually do they just like what we're about and they're doing it because they want to? Sometimes you can have an open and honest conversation about that. Other times it's a bit more of a gut feel thing. Very quick bit on me, why I speak about this stuff. Business Scene is the membership organization I ran, that you'll see up in the top left of your screen. We grew that to 2,000 members almost entirely through referrals and partnerships. I then ran a benefit business where I was providing leads to some of the great big brands you see on the screen there. We act as their access point to the SME market. They didn't always make it easy for me to provide leads to them, and so everything that I do really is based on not only the successes I have building my own organization, but it's that flip side of when these people didn't make it easy for me to provide leads, what did I wish they'd done? And now I flip that round. And so at Collaboration Junkie, I work with brands such as yourselves to help get this stuff right, so that you can make it really easy for your partners to provide you leads the right leads on a more consistent basis. And I do that for a framework. That's my dance framework, and that's what I'll run through today. As an overview, we'll cover discovery, which is who your ideal client is, who your ideal partner is. And the ideal partner is which partner is out there that's going to really love being a partner of yours. And it's more about it being right for the partner than it is for you. Assembly is all about systems of scale, so that we can offer consistent level of service and scale it. Nurturing is all around processes, specifically communication processes. How do we build watertight relationships with our partners so that we're the go-to person that they think of? Connection is, how do you help your partners connect you to the audience? So many people I know say, oh yeah, I've had partnerships in the past, but they've not really worked out. And it's because we form these relationships and we expect them to magically work, rather than giving our partners the support. E is engagement. How do we actually go out there and get more partners? That's the 5-step framework. It seems like there's a lot to cover, and I'm not going to lie, partnerships aren't easy to get right. But once you've done the hard work, and the hard work is simple stuff. It's lots and lots of simple stuff, but do all this stuff and get it right, and it pays dividends long into the future. Where you've had partners before, I'm sure you'll agree that kind of once they're set up and running, then it's a nice, easy source of it's a much easier channel, right? And so that's what it's all about. And that make it easy is a consistent theme, I think, for everything on here. We want to make it as easy as possible for our partners to do what we want them to do every single step of the way, whether that's engage with us, whether it's get us in front of their audience. It's about making it easy, because we're all busy people. And so if stuff isn't easy to do, sometimes it gets put on that I'll get round to it pile, right? And that I'll get round to it pile typically just gets bigger and bigger. So the more of the hard yards that we do, the more likely it is our partners do what we want them to do. So first steps, discovery. And this is all about identifying who your ideal partners are. And that has to start with understanding an ideal client. Aaron, I know you've got this down. You're kind of right in that financial space, and I know you've got a couple of other key sectors as well. And that's an interesting one, because when I say to people about being targeted, it's not about re-engineering your whole business. It's about segmenting your business into your key kind of customer profiles, because when you're looking at a smaller segment of your customer base, you're able to much more able to articulate a specific bit of value. And when you're able to do that, you're able to identify and build trust with partners that little bit easier, rather than being generalist and competing against every other person that's in your space. That tightening of who you're looking to really helps to just sharpen your mind when you're looking at ideal partners. I think there's a few key considerations. when you're looking at an ideal partner for you. First one is, are they talking to my ideal clients, right? And that's around that specificity. I think that's an obvious one. There's then two others that seem obvious, but it would be amazing the amount of times that people don't do this. It's, are they congruent? So are they talking about stuff that's similar to what I'm doing? Is the conversation relevant? And is the person I'm speaking to, do they hold enough sway, enough authority that their referral means something? And if you don't tick all of those three boxes, well, then it's probably not worth progressing much further. If you do, then for me, a crucial piece here is something I call a partner value proposition. So many people will focus their partner activity around what they can do for a partner's client, right? Oh, we should have a talk because I can do this, this, and this for your client. And whether you mean it that way or not, all that says is, I want to sell to your list, right? That's how it comes across. I want access to your list. Whereas actually, the right partners, what you do and what you do for their clients directly impacts or enhances their own value proposition in some way. And it's about changing your approach, changing your pitch, for want of a better word, to be one that focuses on the value you're delivering to the partner. And Aaron, I'm going to use you as an example because I know you've got partners in the broader kind of SEO space. Kind of you're one component of that, right? And the value you deliver to a partner is a more rounded service, which means the client gets better results. They stay with the partner longer, and it's that kind of positioning and keeping that at the forefront of all your partner outreach that may seem obvious, but the vast majority of people don't do. They stick in client focus mode, and it's not quite the right approach. And that part of value prop, it can be direct benefit, but sometimes it can be a slightly removed. It can be a reputational one. You'll have, particularly in the introducer space, they may want to refer you in just because it enhances their reputation as someone who knows good people, and it fits in that way. So I guess, Mike, as people like for yourself, it would be maybe anyone involved in office moved or anything in that kind of sphere. It's an add-on service that enhances that overall experience, and it's about keeping that front and center when you design all your partner models out. Aaron, I'm intrigued when you kind of set out on the partner journey piece. Was it with this in mind? Was it more client focused, or did your mind naturally go to that kind of, well, actually, there's a service enhancement piece here?
Yeah, well, I left an agency where we looked after about 120 clients, and so I knew the model there we could support from an external company, if you like. So I thought, well, if we approach companies that are doing what we do but outsourcing it to someone else or needing support with it, it was a good way for us to get off the ground. And I knew a couple of people who worked in agencies in Brighton that got us in quite early with them, and then it just sort of grew from there. And then over the last, since we started 3 years, we've sort of we've got 5 agencies now that outsource to us in different ways. So 2 of them white label us completely, so the clients don't know about us, and the other 3 would sort of partner up with us. So we would be on client calls as a partner to them.
I guess your preference is the latter.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind too much. Yeah, I mean, we can be more influential in those ones, if you like. So we can. What I don't like is when a client asks me loads of questions, when the agency asks me loads of questions, and then they go away and sort of relay the answers back to the client. I'd much rather say it directly to the client because it loses the impact for sure. But with the white label, obviously all of the clients' concerns are handled by the agency that is white labeling us. So there's good and bad with it, really.
Yeah, and there's and it's nice revenue, right? It's better to have that than not have it, isn't it? At the end of the day,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So next stage, assembly, systems, processes, and it's about the behind the scenes stuff, and it's about building and maintaining trust with your partners. This isn't going to win partnerships, but get it wrong and it can lose partnerships because you're not delivering that consistent level of service. And also, this is the stuff you need to really take really take it to the next level. And it's around, yeah, as I said, around building trust, and setting yourself up to scale so that you can take it from really leverage it and expand the reach. There's a couple of things that I want to mention in this space. There's a whole load of other stuff to look at, but the first one is around lead handling, particularly where it's volume of leads, and this is where the trust bit comes in. Whether you use fancy partner tracking software, and there's stuff out there that's tens of thousands of pounds a month, and there's all this wonderful stuff, or whether you're using a spreadsheet. It's better to have a spreadsheet you use in a CRM system that you don't, but I would recommend at least a basic CRM. There is nothing more important than understanding if a partner has provided you with a lead, where they are in that journey, and when they convert to a customer, where they are in that customer journey as well. Every time someone gives you a lead, they're not just giving you a lead, they're giving you a little bit of their reputation for you, and it's really important that you give that there. I feel that you give that the trust and the respect that it deserves. I've had partners in the past where if I've asked them, oh, I knew I'd be speaking to a certain person, and I'd be like, oh, I'm just about to chat to so-and-so. I know I sent them your way before. Where are they? What's going on with them? And the person wasn't able to quickly tell me, or even be able to go, right, let me just check on the system. And it does one of two things. It either makes you think that they haven't registered them as your lead, which means they're not going to, if there's a commission element to it, kind of they're trying to dodge that, or they genuinely don't know. And it means they're either a crook or they're incompetent. And neither of those two things are brilliant looks for partners, right? So I think that understanding where everyone is in your journey and that tracking is really vital. And the other one is the lead handling piece. Particularly if you've got a high volume item. Look, partnerships rarely go as well as you think they're going to when they first kick off, because you plan world domination and it doesn't quite work out like that. But you do need to just set yourself up to be as good as if they can. We worked with Experian once in my member benefit days, brilliant brand. But we ran a campaign to our members and prospects around free sales data, and we told them it was going to be really successful. It was going to generate loads of leads. We did it to get happy members and get more membership inquiries. They said, yeah, we'll deal with that. We're all set up to cope. We sent the campaign out. It was a one-click campaign. Yes, I'd like to speak to someone. And then behind the scenes, we set the systems up that the lead just went straight out to them. We generated 450 leads in a 2-day period, and which meant that the 3-day turnaround of callbacks was actually taken up to 2 weeks. And so instead of happy members and new member inquiries, we were getting shitty phone calls from people that wanted their free sales data. And so it happens even with the biggest of brands, they still don't always get this stuff right. And it's kind of almost that plan for the best, but expect not the worst, don't necessarily expect the worst, but kind of have realistic expectations, but you still need to set everything up for it being as good as it could be. The grayer ones around, I think, is around reward and recognition. So I'm interested in what commercial relationships you've got in terms of keeping this interactive and hopefully delivering some specific value to you guys. And Suzanne, Ruby, if at any point you want to fire something into the chat or just shout on or off camera, you're more than welcome to. How do you pay, or how do you reward referrers, introducers, partners at the moment? Mike, you first, if that's cool.
Thank you. Yeah, so we're in an industry where typically all companies in the UK who sell hosted telephony solutions do it on a monthly subscription basis, typically between 3 and 5 years. Now, that's fine and good, but after that 3 or 5 year period, you're back to the negotiating table. You've got to pay a similar amount of money if you want to continue over the next 3 or 5 years, which is great. However, after you've done that 3 or 4 times over a period of 9 to 12 years, I know it sounds like a long time, you end up spending an absolute fortune on your telephony. Now, historically, in the past, you'd buy a phone system and the damn thing would last you 10 years at least. So, you know, your investment was sweated over that period of time, mainly on a 3 or 5 year lease. You got to own it at the end. So what we did was we looked at it long and hard and thought, okay, let's experiment with this. We're offering lifetime licenses. Now, arguably, they are slightly more expensive than an ordinary monthly rental license, but at the end of the rental period, 3 or 5 years, you own it. Now, what do we offer the lead generator, the lead source for that? Well, basically, we give them £100 per user. So if there's a 10 user system, it's £1,000. If it's a 50 user system, it's a £5,000 commission, if you like. Now, what we then do is once we've installed that solution, we keep in touch with the customer, go back and say, look, if you're happy with us, you're happy with what you're doing, you could refer, if you want to, other people to this solution, and for which you will be rewarded either directly or indirectly. Now, you know, if they don't want to take the money, they can refer it to pass it on to a charity. So that's kind of what we're trying to do. Now, you know, some people think I'm insane because at the end of 3 or 5 years, you don't have the renewals. But if you sell more in that period, you've got that upfront revenue and also considerable amount of profit.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Okay. So you're a one-off lump sum at the start. Yeah. Okay. Nice. And Aaron, I guess you're white labeled. How's that working? Are you just charging a set fee to the agency, and if they want to put a markup on it, etc., like that's none of your business? Like how are yours working?
Yeah, pretty much with the white label and with the partnerships, we charge the price that we charge to the agencies, which is typically 10 to 15, 20%, depending on the size of the projects, cheaper than what we would charge direct to the clients, and the agency can resell it to whatever price they want to.
Yeah. Okay, so even where you're being referred in, the agency is still owning the commercial aspect of the relationship, as it were. You're part of a bigger project. Yeah, okay. Nice. Yeah. Ruby, yes.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Ruby Golo. I'm based in Accra, Ghana, West Africa. Delighted to be on the call and very interesting points. So I'm in the business of helping companies expand, trade and invest in Ghana. Most of the time we do help our clients organize training workshops, and we can't do it alone. So we reach out to other partners, and what we do is if they give us referrals, we offer them some commission, some, agreed percentage commissions, and it kind of works. Yeah. And so that is what I wanted to chip in. That is the approach that we have been using and looking to maybe adapt other ways. And so I'm just listening and picking up some few points from the others on the call. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for contributing. So yeah, and I think all the ones you mentioned are fairly standard. I think for most people, it's still not going to be the reason they refer you. I mean, maybe the core reason is still going to be that partner value proposition, and then it's about, but certainly the commercials help elevate it from a friendly handshake relationship to something that's going to be more consistent, and is potentially going to outlast any individuals leaving an organization that's a key partner. The one-off versus lifetime value is an interesting debate. I'm a fan of lifetime value commissions that I'll pay for as long as I'm for any work I get from a referral. Someone comes into me. I'd rather have 90% or 80% of something than 100% of nothing. I think the key thing to do is is be able to have the level of relationship you can have an open and honest conversation. I think the only rule with commissions is that neither party feels aggrieved. You don't want to begrudge doing the work or paying a commission out, but you don't want the partner feeling that they're not getting the fair end of the stick. One thing, the charity bit is really good. I also know a really nice thing that more and more people are starting to do now is worthy cause. So it's similar to a charity, but if there's something that relates to what you do, then it can be a really nice thing. So for every referral we get, we put this amount in a pot, and you either support a particular thing, or you directly do some work for a good cause, and that can add a sense of purpose behind that kind of donation thing that makes it a little bit more meaningful. And I've seen that work really well. One thing to note is around referrals, kind of the more casual ones from clients, friends, colleagues, network. Be really careful on the financial stuff. There's a brilliant book called Drive by Dan Pink. I don't know if any of you have read or listened to it. It talks about extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. And if people are intrinsically motivated to want to refer you anyway, because they like what you do, they love what you're about, then if you over incentivize that at the start and make out that the only reason why someone's going to introduce you is because you'll pay them, it can have the opposite effect. It'll put people off. It can offend their sensibilities. And so it's, yes, reward people afterwards and maybe make it more personal. But yeah, when we're at casual referral level, just be really careful about how you position incentives. Very much a cultural thing. Ruby, I was chatting to a guy. I did this presentation around referrals live a few weeks ago, and I was chatting to a chap afterwards from Ghana, and he laughed at me because he said, "Nope. Essentially, if I want anyone to do anything for me, they're probably going to want their cut of the pie, as it were." So I'm aware that there are cultural kind of differences with this kind of stuff. Yeah, and we just need to be aware of those, right? So, but from a UK perspective, and certainly other nationalities, and it's just judging it. All this stuff is gut feel. Even over here, if you're chatting to a salesperson and someone who's commission driven, whether as a casual introducer or a full partner, yeah, they're going to want a money conversation because it's part of who they are and what they do. So it's taking that gut feel, understanding the conversation you're having, and positioning it accordingly, right? It's yeah, there's frameworks and there's processes, and then there's our own intuition around these. Okay, so the next piece is around nurturing, and this is about really forming the relationships, and particularly in a SaaS kind of the software space, there can be a tendency to over automate a relationship. Oh, we don't need to speak to our partners. They get access to live information and everything's automated, and because we paid all this money for this partnership software, which is awesome software. But at its core, any kind of introducer relationship is based on a human relationship. And it's really, really important to build and maintain those things, because that at the end of the day is where your partnership will expand. It's where if you're one of multiple partners, you become the go-to partner. And it makes sure that these are enjoyable relationships as well. It's an enjoyable way to work. And there's different reasons for communicating, and there's different styles of communicating, and it's about getting them right. So you might have more transactional stuff, which is around either keeping your agency partners updated as they go on what's happening with a particular client, right? And that's maybe there's a report. I'm imagining there's maybe a standard report that you send to them, or whatever it may be. It may be informing your introducer, Mike, that they've booked this amount of seats and therefore this amount of commissions there, right? And there's this transactional stuff that can be semi-automated. We can use AI with it. We can do all this stuff to make our lives easier. But if we're going to make our lives easier in that way, let's make sure that we do the personal stuff that builds relationships really, really well. And you want that to feel, it should be process driven behind the scenes to make sure you do this stuff consistently well. but it should still feel super, super personal to your partners. You want them to feel that they're in a proper relationship, not just part of a kind of a factory processing machine. And there's three main ones that I want you to, that I think are really, really crucial. There's obviously many more, but these are the three crucial ones for me. Number one is set expectations. And this can be a really awkward one to do until you get into the swing of it. When you're first having partner conversations, it can be, and it's all exciting about all the things you're going to do together. It can feel really counterintuitive to take a step back and go, well, what's actually going to happen here? And there's short-term, long-term, mid-term, and long-term expectations, right? Aaron, come to you. The long-term vision of a partnership for the SEO agents you're working with may be to bring what you do in-house, right? Now, that doesn't mean that you don't partner with them, but you'd much rather know at the outset that they've got a 3-year plan to do this in-house. And maybe you shape your offering accordingly. Maybe your relationship develops that you help them do that in for a fee or whatever, but it's better to know that from the outset. As we then get to a more granular level, it's all about expectation of lead values, expectation of volumes, expectation of quality of lead, expectation of how much hand-holding there's going to be. All these things it's worth getting down and noting, because and then really to the granular level of how we're getting started, who's doing what and who's doing it when, and who's people's responsibilities. Because I've seen so many partnerships fizzle out and never achieve what they were going to, and some end really, really nastily because there was a mismatch in expectations. And even if it's only 5% out at the start, I'm going to do it on paper because I never get this right. Over time, that like 5% gets bigger, right? Because it just stretches, and you end up at this point where it feels really odd. And if you've got partnerships now where you feel something isn't quite right, it's probably because there's a little bit of misalignment in this stuff, and it's worth going back and just kind of going and just almost resetting the relationship and starting afresh in that way. The next one is keeping your partners informed. So I said about the tracking in assembly, I said about the reputation piece. Like, keep your partners in the loop. You want to be proactively letting them know what's going on. So you don't want your partners to be ever left wondering what's going on with my bit of reputation. Like, keep them in the loop, keep them informed. And that doesn't have to be personal. That can be monthly reports if it's volume. It can be keeping them informed at key milestones, but have a process behind it. And that process will vary depending on the volume and value of the leads that you're dealing with. Biggest one for me that people don't often do is strategic reviews. Like, I speak to so many people and they say, I speak to my partners all the time. Don't need strategic reviews. Speak to them on a daily basis because we've got so many projects going on. But and I go, when was the last time you actually sat down and spoke about the business as a whole, though? And they go, oh, yeah, we don't do it. I think that's those three main bits of value. Yes, there's the review of where we're at. And if you've set the expectations, it's much easier to have potentially tricky conversations because it's down there as an agreement. The second one is you can ask them what you can be doing better, right? The what you can be doing better conversation is a much easier one to do over lunch, because you can ask a little bit more casually. But this is the stuff where it's not big enough that they're going to pick up the phone and go, Mike, can you, this thing's happening, or this person in the team, yeah, they're not there, their tone isn't great, or this report isn't quite right. It's not big enough to do that, but it is the sort of thing that they'll bring up when you ask. It's niggles, and we don't want our partners to have niggles. We want everything to be smooth. So having these more outside of day-to-day reviews allow you to have those conversations. But the biggest one is about finding out what's going on in their world. There's a saying I use all the time that curiosity is the birthplace of opportunity. And by just asking your partners what's going on in their world on a personal basis, what's going on in their world of work life in general, you'll find more opportunity. They'll go, oh, right, yeah, you've got this thing going on. And you can support them with that thing, but they haven't thought about it. We'd all like to think that the people that know us will automatically think of us when there's something that we can do. but people don't. They just don't, because we're busy. It's not that we don't want to. And so if you take the time to have the reviews and take the time to just be genuinely interested in what's going on in their world, opportunities will come for you, or they'll come for other people that you know, and you can go, oh, I know someone that can help you with that. They're awesome at these exhibition type stuff. And then the law of reciprocity kicks in. You go up in their value, you go up in the person you referred to value, and it all just works. So like those, if it's not something you're doing already with your partners, putting those kind of reviews in place is something I would really, really, really strongly recommend that you do. And if you've got someone in the introducer space, this is one of those things where you don't position it as a strategic review, right? If there are people that are just referring, you position it as, it'd be good to stay in touch. Let's have lunch. Let's have lunch every 3 or 4 months, right? And you keep it more casual. If it's a fully signed up formal partner, well then no, you have scheduled quarterly reviews. So that's what I mean about, like, you can flex this to suit the relationship. But if you've got a relationship that's a consistent one, take the time to do it. Okay, or skip too far then. Connection. So this is the bit that ties it all together and it activates your partnerships. There's 2 sides to it: partner facing, training, support. So Mike, I'm going to ask you, and Ruby, Suzanne, feel free to chime in again as well. Where you've had partners in the past, kind of what support have you given them in terms of sales material, sales training? Do all your partners know the things to listen out for?
No.
Okay.
Is the honest answer.
Thank you for being honest. Best policy.
Well, yeah, I think there's a lot to learn here, because obviously, if somebody were to offer me, I have to know, like, and trust the person initially. I can't just get a phone call from someone and start giving them leads, because my reputation's at stake as well. But I think historically, yeah, I've explained what we're doing to people. They've understood it to the best of my knowledge, and some have acted on it and made some nice commissions. I mean, the biggest deal I ever did was, crumbs, it was 20 years ago now. I was approached by somebody who was looking to build out a NOC, a network operating centre, in Holland. They said, "Is that something you do?" And I said, "Well, absolutely not. No, we don't. However, I do know somebody who can." So I approached them, and I was on their radar anyway. And we did a deal, or they did a deal, for £6 million, and we got paid 250 grand, which was lovely at the time. Never before, never since. But it got me thinking that if people are talking to potential clients of ours, and they were to slip into the conversation, "I understand you're moving. What are you doing about your telephony?" Then there's a nice little mix there, nice fit, and it doesn't work every time. What it does is very successful for both us and the referral partner, and of course the customer.
So you picked on something then, which was, I call them moments in time and triggers, and this is the sort of thing that I mean by partner support. It's all the things that you inherently know as the trigger signs for your product or service to be sold. So the moments in time for me are the moment in time in a person or a business's journey where your product or service is super, super easy to be sold. Like if you're having a prospect conversation at one of these moments in time, like the deal's pretty much done, right? Like they're just signing through because they need you. And that could be a physical time, or it could be like a time of the year, or it could be an event, like as you say, moving, for example, could be one of those events, or first member of staff, or a rebrand, or a new product launch, or whatever it may be. And so if there are these, or a new website, or whatever it may be, and so they're the moments in time. The triggers are when your prospects are in that moment in time. They're either going through some pain, or there's an opportunity, or there's a thing that's going on. What are they actually saying? What are they physically saying when they're in client meetings, when they're in mixing with peer groups? Because it's not what's written on your website. They're not looking for a a consultative telecoms provider, right? They're moaning about the hassle of doing something else, or maybe they're complaining about web traffic, Aaron, or like, do you know what I mean? It's what are they actually saying? What are they experiencing? And giving your partners, and this works really well with introducers, the benefit of that. They're like little mini stories that sit in the back of their head, so that when they next hear someone say, "Oh right, yeah, this," they go, "Ah, I've got a perfect intro to you. You want to speak to Mike, he'll give you a load of good advice on this sort of stuff. Or you want to speak to Aaron and the guys at High 19, they know they could probably help you out." And it's there's a second saying of the day. It's not common sense, it's experience. We think it's common sense, but it's not. It's our own experience. And that's why it seems obvious to us. So like, give your partners that stuff. Give your partners that stuff. Aaron, I guess you're ingrained in their processes though, right? Because the ultimate level of connection is where you are just inbuilt into your partner's kind of sales process of, do you have this? Do you need this? Right? Then they're coming to you ready made, I presume.
Yeah, I mean, typically the SEO agencies will have anything from like 30 to 100 clients, and we'll work on maximum of like between 5 and 10 of those clients, because not every client is going to want the bit or need the bit that we do.
Yeah.
But for the ones that do, yeah, it's perfect. So we'll get notified by the agency saying, you know, can you work on this client? We'll decide if it's a good fit or not. And if it is, then yeah, they will build a client monthly, they will do their bit, and we will account for however much of that project is. Every month we'll do our bit, and we'll update them. We've got Slack channels for each agency, which will get
my question to you then, I suppose, is and I guess your relationship is with a couple of key individuals within those agencies, but there's probably going to be, almost certainly going to be, a bunch of people who are more responsible for activating the partnership and identifying the leads. I suppose my question to you would be, is there potentially more you can do to help the people in those teams know which are the right clients, kind of where maybe the client isn't asking for it, but there is a need that could be identified? And also further down the line, like if it wasn't right when your partners first started working with whoever the client is there a point in time when bringing you back into the conversation is right? And does everyone in your partners' teams understand what that is? So if there's an area of growth within your existing partners, I'd say just have a think about whether there's more that you can do to maybe help build the value in the partnerships.
Yeah, I'd say it's quite difficult with the agencies because they struggle to get the clients to up their spend. If they come in and they say, right, we're going to spend, you know, this much per month, it's quite difficult for them to move those at the smaller end clients. But when we tend to work on slightly larger clients, but yeah, and also if they've got their set retainer per month with the clients, it's hard then for them to justify the spend to sort of bring us in to their long-standing relationships. It's kind of more new pitches that we get included in. But it's a nice idea to revisit the ones that we didn't get, for sure. I think for us, I think a key would be more agencies. I mean, there's so many agencies out there, but we only have a handful of partnerships really, when we should have lots more.
So an interesting one on that kind of, and I completely get what you're saying about the agency doesn't want to jeopardize their own retainer fee by even bringing up the question of increased prices, right? That's not a conversation that most people, particularly in current climate, it's not a conversation most people want to have, which is where the customer facing stuff comes in, right? So this is the customer facing support where you proactively get in front of other people. And this is things like value add. If you've got the partner value proposition right, then there will be proactive ways that you're able to add value to your partner's audiences in a way that adds value to them as well, and potentially does drive new inquiries. So it's things like, it's content led, right? That's why there's a great big kind of Mentimeter kind of mashup of words there. It's, is there stuff you can do that your partners will see value in? And if your partners are putting content out there themselves, you can become their marketing manager's best friend, their own marketing, because if they're putting regular content out, well, then you giving them some good content is one less thing that they've got to think about that time round. So whether that's articles, whether it's webinars, are they running events, do they have a podcast, are they doing social posts? It's having a conversation with whoever's responsible for that kind of output within your partners and going, is there anything we can do to support? You're not going to them and saying, what can we do to get in front of your audience? You're going, is there anything we can do to support your own activities, by the way? And when it's positioned in that way, you become their best friend. And maybe that's a way of just broadening your reach out from those other people in a more gentle way. Final piece in the puzzle here is around engagement, going out and getting more partners. And this is the bit that's actually much more simpler than many people think about. And there's 2 steps to it. It's remembering your partner value proposition. And that should be its core when you're making these outreaches. It's about the value delivered to the partner, not selling to client focused. And using the network. I talk about referrals a lot, but for most of us, there's more than enough people either directly in our network or once removed to start or grow our partners significantly. And the thing with referrals is people do love to make referrals and love to make introductions, but where it's for client work, there's always a bit of, am I going to introduce this person when I know that there's a sale attached to the implicit in that introduction? If you get your partner value prop right, then giving that context and asking for introductions to other agencies, people will make those referrals all day long, right? Because it's Aaron, I had one call with you and said, I'm going to introduce you to Chris. Because I know you're not going to sell to him, you're offering a value add service to him. Now, I proactively did that because that's what I do. I'm a connector of people. It works, right? But you being more proactive and going, who do I know that knows other agencies? And then talking about the fact that what you do is you help add a more complete solution to where they're going. People will make those introductions all day long if you make it easy for them to do so. And you can make it easy by either being very specific about the type of introduction you want and giving them the context so that they can kind of copy and paste that and make the introduction. Or even better, the next stage is named individuals going, I see you're hey Jane, I see that you know Jeff at XYZ. I would love an intro because of this. Do you mind? And when you take the guesswork out, you make it so easy for people to make that introduction that as long as they know them, typically they'll just do it. And if they don't know them, because you've done the hard work first, they're much more likely to go, I don't actually know Jeff that well, but I do know this person, just like them. Would you like that introduction? And you go, yeah, please, thank you very much. Right? And away you go. So it seems simplistic, but the simple things are the best things. And for most of us, actually, there's an untapped pool of people that we can tap into. So, in summary, because somehow we've come to 1 o'clock, I think I'm normally quicker than this. I think it's because I've been talking to you more that actually it's dragged it out long. It's lengthened it out. Have a really strong partner value proposition. Get the systems in place so that you can scale it and deliver a consistent level of service. Remember that mix of human and transactional stuff and the strategic reviews are a really strong one that I want to, expectations and strategic reviews. Make sure that you're giving your partners the benefit of your expertise and you're exploring all the ways that you can help them to add value to their audience. And then, use your own audience to grow your partners. Put all that together and you'll be well on the way. Very quickly, if you're looking for more support on this sort of stuff, my group program, my next cohort, my group program kicks off next month. That's this full dance framework done over 6 months, but you're ready to launch by month 4. It's done in bite-sized chunks, a session every fortnight with a week off on the 5-week months. Maximum of 8 businesses on there, live sessions with me, and then support from the group and everything in between. yeah, that kicks. If you want to have a word with me about that, then please do give me a shout, and I'll and we can chat about that. I obviously also do this stuff one-to-one as well, either on partnerships or referrals, and based on teams as well. So if you want any further support, we'd love to chat. And yeah, that's me. That's Slides. Small but beautifully formed. Thank you for engagement today. Really appreciated. If you want access to the recording or the slides or any of that stuff, then it's there on the QR code, and you'll get an email back. But yeah, thank you guys and ladies, Suzanne, Ruby. Yeah, hopefully that's been of value. Hopefully there's something at least one or two things you can go away and maybe do differently that will maybe generate some extra, some different results.
Brilliant. Thanks, David. Enjoyed that.